Hello, Dana Gardner here of the Energized Woman. I am the CEO and founder of the Energized Woman and of the Energy Rejuvenation VIP experience, my 6-week energy rejuvenation system for women who are exhausted, battling brain fog and aches and pains and all these other symptoms that are really confusing and seem like they may or may not be connected, to help them get back their energy, reclaim their life, get back to getting more work done so that they have more time for play and fun and engagement with their family and their friends and other loved ones, and just helping them really get back to living the best life that they possibly could dream of for themselves. Because let me tell you, it is not fun to be always exhausted. I personally was hit with chronic fatigue when I was 12 and battled it really hard for almost 20 years. And then it was only using holistic nutrition that I finally started to figure out that there is a way to beat this and to become more resilient to the triggers of fatigue and take back control of my own life so that I could stay my healthiest and improve my health overall. And now this is what my clients experience inside the VIP experience. So without further ado, I want to talk about morning energy today because it's really important that you start your day off right. I mean, there's those days where you wake up and you're like, I am so exhausted. When is it bedtime again? That's how I lived my life for 20 years. It's defeating. There's a lot of hopelessness in that, right? I don't know, you just feel, or I felt this way, maybe you felt this way too. It just felt really, I'm just gonna move that glare away from this. There we go. I just felt really let down by life and my body. I just nothing was enjoyable. I was so focused on feeling so exhausted that I couldn't, there was hardly anything to be happy about because all I wanted to do was sleep. And then that just made me kind of sad and a little depressed, but not real depressed. Like, don't get me wrong. I've never been legit depressed. For those of you that have been, I mean, my heart goes out to you, but I haven't actually been real depressed. But it just felt really crushing to be so exhausted. And to start your day off feeling like that, because if you're like me, you have a job you have to get to and get through, and all you can think about is the end of the day. And hopefully, maybe you can have some downtime when you get home, but usually there's something going on that you have to do. And then you feel bad because you're way too exhausted to cook a healthy meal, and you know that healthy food is good for your energy, but then you just end up like, I'm too tired, I don't care. And then deep down you do care, so you feel that guilt and that shame for making bad choices. Does it just feel like you're just stuck in this perpetual merry-go-round where you're like, I know that I need to make some changes, but my body and my mind are just not cooperating? I get it. I've lived like that for so long. So when we wake up and we can actually hack our life a little bit so that we can boost our energy, it helps you stay more motivated and helps you realize that, hey, I can change this. And I think the biggest thing for me was that I got to turn inward and realize that I did have way more control over fixing my fatigue than I was led to believe. I was told by doctors that there was nothing anyone could do for me and I'd have to learn to cope with my fatigue. And sure, I listened to that for, like I said, almost 20 years. And it's not true. There is a way to fix your fatigue. It's just not in the mainstream, which is why I love holistic nutrition, because it's this deeper level of nutritional knowledge and practical usage of food. It's just food that can heal your body. And it has to be done right. It's not as simple as following a fad diet like paleo or keto. It's not as mainstream as healthy or clean eating. For someone who is serious about fixing their fatigue and getting to the heart of the problem, holistic nutrition is the answer for you, but it does take a little bit of work on your part, a few very specific shifts in how we think about food, but it is simple and it's delicious and there's lots you can do with it. So if this inspires you to learn more, I mean, my website's in the comments below if you would like to learn a little bit more about holistic nutrition and what some of the options I have to help you get started. They're all there. So tips to improve energy in the morning. Number one is get up when the alarm goes off. When you plan to get up, get up. I know it's very tempting to stay in bed and lounge and rest and just feel, like I'm resting, I'm getting, this is okay. But we actually are sending a message to our adrenals that they don't have to do their job to wake us up and get us focused and motivated and driven and all these things. So one of your main energy hormones, probably the main energy hormone, is cortisol. I know we're taught it's thyroid, but it's cortisol. Cortisol influences how well your thyroid functions as well. So if you're exhausted and you've tested out thyroid meds and looked at thyroid and that's like normal or not working, then we need to go that deeper level to cortisol and the adrenal health. Now, like I said, when we don't get up in the morning when we're supposed to, when I say supposed to, is what the body naturally wants to and is designed to be alert and awake and ready the day, first thing in the morning, around when the sun comes up. It's usually between 6 and 9 in the morning. That is supposed to be your highest energy time of the day. If we don't nurture that normal cycle of our energy, we basically tell the adrenals to not pump out morning cortisol. And so that morning cortisol stays really, really low. And we feel groggy, exhausted, frustrated, demotivated, like hopeless, all those things. So one of the very first things that I recommend to my clients is get up. Get up, get up, get up, get up. Get up, go brush your teeth. Second thing, have a huge glass of water, like half a liter of water. Add some fresh lemon juice into it to give yourself a nice little detox boost. But that's detox. That's really another area of the body that's really important, but not the focus for today's talk. Water. So another reason that we can feel really tired is we're dehydrated. And when we're exhausted, our stress response is, for lack of a better term, out of whack. It's out of whack. And when our stress response is out of whack, this interrupts our proper hormonal hydration balancing system. It uses up very important nutrients that are needed to keep your body and your cells hydrated. And it depletes certain hormones that help keep blood pressure healthy, hydration levels healthy, and all that. So make sure you rehydrate, especially after a night of, you're not drinking water when you sleep, a night of sleeping. So have a big glass of water. This is really important. I also recommend adding some salt to that water first thing in the morning because, again, one of the most important nutrients that helps with hydration and, of course, energy is sodium. And when you're exhausted, you're using up a lot of sodium. We can actually, I know a lot of us have been taught to drink a lot of water, right? And so you may be like, but I do drink a lot of water, nothing's working. So part of the problem is we've been taught to drink so much water that it actually flushes out important electrolytes like sodium and potassium, which when we flush those out, we feel more tired. So it's really important to replenish these with food, with salt, whatever. Now, potassium's easier to get, I find, these days, especially if you're a healthy eater, because it's in avocado, it's in bananas, it's in coconut water, it's in coconut milk, it's in all these things. But sodium is actually something that most women who I work with, because they're already really interested in healthy eating and they're very very conscious to choose healthy whole foods. They're eating healthy, they're eating cleanly. But the problem is that when you add a nice clean, like 80% of the time diet with exhaustion and stress and inflammation, you deplete and don't get enough sodium to keep your body hydrated, and then that is going to cause your body to feel fatigued. So add salt. We need more salt. Now, if you live where I do, I'm in Nicaragua. It's hot all the time and I'm just perpetually sweating. Make sure you're adding even more salt, because I just recently had to deal with some blood pressure issues because I was taught as a young kid that salt is bad. And so I have always avoided salt. And I've realized living here how important it is for me to add salt to my diet. So I'm on Google now, like, what are the highest sodium foods you can find? And I'm looking at all these lists that are basically danger, don't eat these. I'm like, yep, gonna eat that. I'm gonna try that. Gotta get more of that. So if you live in a warm climate, or maybe you're very, probably not active, if you sweat a lot in some way or shape or form, make sure you're adding extra sodium to your diet. So then another tip to help you improve that morning cortisol level and like reset your morning cortisol release is to move your body. Now, please don't think this is get up at 5 a.m. and go to the gym. If that's your thing, do it. No judgment. I do that. But right now, you do something that feels right, that you can do. I hear it all the time. I'm like, how the heck am I supposed? I'm too exhausted to do 30 minutes of exercise. I'm just going to do anything. I get it. Don't have to start with 30. If my recommendation is at about 30 to 45 max minutes of movement every morning. However, don't push yourself to do this if you don't feel up for it. That is going to mess with your stress hormones. So right now, if you are basically laying in bed and then just rolling over and dragging yourself to work or wherever, start with something super simple like 5 minutes of stretching. Or take your dog for a super short walk around the block. Like 5-10 minutes is fine. Start simple. It's baby steps, right? So we want to get to the 30 to 45 minutes, but we want to do it in like these baby step increments, because that's the way that's going to safely trigger your body to elevate cortisol to healthy levels, not extreme levels that cause more inflammation and fatigue. And it's going to become a habit that way too. So that's one of the biggest reasons women do not stay motivated or can't get the motivation to get going, is that some of the messages out there about what to do for higher health or better health are just so flippin' overwhelming, right? When you're exhausted and you're like, okay, here's an energizing meal plan, and there's like 15 different recipes, and some of them have like 18 ingredients in them. I find that overwhelming. So I remember looking at those and being like, this is gonna, nope, that is not gonna work. So baby steps. So this is where we're at. Another really super simple thing you can do is get yourself outside into the sunshine, ideally before 9 a.m. This is going to help trigger your pineal gland in your brain to then reset that circadian rhythm and help elevate that morning cortisol and energy. This is a really important part of the puzzle. So get outside, get sunlight. If you can't do that, then I highly recommend getting yourself a natural light source, light book, something. I had a light book. So it's basically a little bright light that you put right beside you, not right in your eyes, but right beside you. It shines this full spectrum light on your face, and through your eyes, the pineal gland takes in that light signaling and starts to reset that circadian rhythm. Look for one that's like 10,000 lux and known for like full spectrum lighting. It only needs to be ideally up to 30 minutes a day. So if you work in an office, it's actually really simple. You just buy the thing, sit it on your desk first thing in the morning. When you get there, turn it on, do your work. So now we're going to go a little bit more advanced. I think these are all fairly simple, and I think you can start with baby steps, always baby steps. Now a little bit more advanced, and these are going to really improve your energy faster. We're going to talk about food and how to eat and when to eat and all these things. First of all, don't skip breakfast, please. I know that sometimes when we're fatigued, we don't feel hungry. So it's hard to get that breakfast in. Again, start small. Start with something little. You need food though. So if I were working with you and you told me that I'm just not hungry in the morning, I would suggest something really, really easy and simple like a protein shake or maybe chia pudding. See, these are things that are super simple. You can often make them the night before. Or protein is literally protein powder and water. Throw it through your bullet or stir it, however you work. That is enough. That is fine. It's enough to start your day. Now, I highly recommend not including any grains at breakfast. So at least remove gluten. Toast and pancakes often have that wheat, anything with wheat. Ideally, oatmeal is not the best option for women with fatigue because it is very pro-inflammatory still in an overly inflamed body. So when your hormones are out of whack, you're also battling inflammation. So try to avoid oatmeal. There are some hemp seed porridges that you can make. You heat them up, but they're also fine cold the next day. That takes a little bit more work, so that might not be in your realm right now. But some other super simple meals that I like or that some of my clients like are eggs or tofu, scrambled, mixed with various vegetables, whatever you like. I used to love cooked sweet potato. I'd cook it on the weekend, make a whole sweet potato, and then I'd package it into 4 little containers, heat it up when I needed it, and add half an avocado, just chopped on top. And this was one of my favorite breakfasts. It always made me feel really good throughout the day, throughout the morning, and it was filling. So give that a try. You can change up. If you don't like avocado, you can add olives. I mean, something healthy fat would be nice. Nuts, slivered almonds. Play with this. Something else that I tried and felt really good with was I would soak a few tablespoons of raw sunflower seeds, raw pumpkin seeds, and almonds overnight. Then in the morning, drain the water out of them, and then chop them. I had a slap chop thing. And then I'd mix that with a chopped apple and a wee bit of cinnamon or nutmeg, sometimes a peach, sometimes blueberries. It's super simple. And again, you can make that ahead of time too. And that's just a really easy but filling and a lot of protein, a lot of fat, really important. What I'm going to do for breakfast is take out those pro-inflammatory grains and make sure that we're eating adequate protein, adequate healthy fat, and I like vegetables next. That would be my next choice. And then a little bit of fruit. So what this does is it refuels your adrenals and your stress response. Healthy fats are very good for reducing inflammation. Protein is awesome for overall immunity, so improving inflammation levels, replenishing antioxidants even, and setting your body up for health when it comes to killing off viruses and bacteria and all that. And And vegetables are full of antioxidants. So these are kind of where we want to go with our breakfast, is make sure it's antioxidant rich, protein rich, and anti-inflammatory. Fruit is fine as long as I recommend like the lower carb fruits like apples and berries as opposed to like bananas or pineapples. But once in a while, it's okay. I just don't eat fruit as breakfast. That's really bad for your insulin levels, and then you're going to crash hard later on. So that's breakfast. Now, if you drink coffee right now, A-okay. Just the only thing with coffee is please don't drink coffee before you eat or on an empty stomach, and especially if it's black. This just sends this like surge of adrenaline into your body, and then that tells your adrenals to try and pump out cortisol. Well, they're already exhausted and they can't do that, so they deplete more nutrients. They try their hardest. You might get an elevation of energy for a bit, but you probably crash hard within 3 or 4 hours, and or you start to feel really cravey and hungry and like, what is wrong with me? I can't stay away from the bread. So just try to have the coffee after you eat or with breakfast instead. Make sure you do eat within the first few hours of waking up as well. If we wait too long, we can, we're just not fueling that stress response properly. Fasting is not a good idea when you're exhausted. Despite what you might see online, it is not good for exhaustion. It is fine to help, what's the word I'm looking for? Elevate your energy once you've got it back. So how I work with my clients is kind of in a 3-phased approach. The first phase, it's usually a month or 2, is where we're really just filling the body with all of these nutrients and habits that set it up for healing. So it's like we're filling the energy battery. We'll call it that. So we've got all these depletions that have been happening. Now we're filling the battery. It's full. Now, the next phase is now we want to like supercharge that. So we're adding more batteries. So this is where we become what's known as fat fueled. So the body shifts from burning sugar as energy to burning fat primarily. You still need some glucose because that's what the brain runs on. But we want to make sure that most of the cells are fat fueled because this is where the most amount of energy is going to be produced to make you extremely happy. And then once you're fat fueled, you can move into these elevated levels of like skyrocket your energy and creates more sustainability in your energy journey. Is you can add a little bit of fasting because then you're going to start clearing out some of the bad stuff that can like prevent that level of skyrocketed energy. So we have filling the battery, making sure those batteries are super efficient, and then elevating. And we don't want to go right to elevating because it's going to actually create stress that's going to deplete those batteries way, 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 way down. Yeah, I think those are some really good tips to start with. The main thing to think about is be consistent. This takes time. Think about how long you've been struggling with exhaustion. Most women, it's probably been years, right? So your body's had years of battling health imbalances, hormonal imbalances, nutrient gaps, problems with how everything fires and wires together. You can't fix that overnight. You can't fix that in 30 days. So just be patient with yourself. Be consistent, remembering to tell yourself that this is a process. All good things, the best things in life take time, right? And then you get there and you're like, yes. The other really important thing is to take baby steps. Take any of the advice I've just given you with your own little grain of salt, per se, where you take what resonates and you commit to it, but in a way that works for you. Knowing and reminding yourself that this takes time, and as you become more familiar with these new habits, your body's going to become more energized. You're going to want to do a little bit more. Exercise is a classic example. If you start off with 5 minutes of walking a day for 2 weeks, that's it. By the end of that 2 weeks, I almost guarantee that if you're consistent with a couple other things, nutrition wise and all that suddenly your body, you'll notice this little like, hey, I need more. Do a little bit more. And you'll be able to go for 10 minutes. So those are the two really important points that I want you to take away from here. You can be given all the tips in the world, but if you're not consistent with them and patient with yourself, and if you're not reminding yourself that this is a journey, not a like flip of a switch, and if you're not doing things that resonate in a way that works for you today, you're not going to be able to do them. And then, of course, you're going to stay stuck. And then it's going to seem like it's a problem with the things, when in reality, it's actually a problem with our mindset and our limiting beliefs around what it takes to heal. And that's not your fault. That is simply what mainstream medicine, with their pill popping culture, even mainstream naturopathic medicine these days, is quite frankly very heavy on the supplement pill popping side of things. And I don't agree with that. It doesn't work. It's not going to get you to where you need to be. And then diet and fitness culture about like, go hard, do it all. If you don't do it, you fail. Like, it's not aligned with what you need. So I'd love to hear from you. Try these out for a few weeks. Let me know how it goes, what you did, what felt really good for you, and maybe what didn't, because maybe there's some tips to help you create something that does work. This is by no means an exhaustive list, and every person is different, which is why it's so important especially with holistic nutrition, because my underlying principle in helping my clients overcome chronic fatigue syndrome, Epstein-Barr virus fatigue, long haul COVID fatigue, and adrenal burnout is that I really need to make sure that both they and myself have a really good understanding of what the root cause is. Because when you address the root cause, there's this beautiful like trickle up effect to the rest of your body, where it starts to feel really easy to fix things, because while you're fixing fatigue, suddenly all these other symptoms that have been bothering you and confusing you just disappear. And you start to feel lighter, happier, more resilient to stress, just all these amazing things. And that is really the secret. And we'll figure out exactly what to get started, and we'll make it super simple for you so that you can stay on track, stay motivated, and finally become free from fatigue.